Hello, my name is Aubrey Bacco, and today I'm going to speak a little about how I leverage Agile methods within my realm of project management methodologies in my work as a learning designer. And although I really, on a default, used to think within a waterfall type of methodology, I've recognized within my work and as I've practiced some of the skills that I've learned within this program, that an Agile mindset really is able to create a much better outcome. And that's because breaking down these projects into smaller, more manageable pieces and being able to have the opportunity to continuously improve from feedback checks along the way is going to create a much better aligned and effective outcome. And so, for example, instead of creating an entire course on my own and delivering this to stakeholders at the end, just kind of making them feel like they're signing on a dotted line, I'm going to create maybe the first learning activity, develop a prototype, and provide it to them for their feedback. And having that kind of informed iterative process throughout the entire life cycle is what's going to ensure that our projects meet a couple different beneficial goals. One of those is greater collaboration with stakeholders where they feel like they're truly a part of the development process, not just the sign off at the end. Another piece is that workflow is significantly benefited and improved. Because the work is prioritized, it's managed, and it's delivered within these tighter timelines. That although they're flexible within them, they help to kind of chunk apart a lot of work. And then third, the outcomes are certainly stronger because there's alignment along with every step of the process. And so one of the key elements to my work and how I utilize this agile methodology with so many flexible moving parts is specifically with visualizations. And one of the best tools that I've been using for that is Trello. In fact, within the past year, I utilized Trello to be able to manage the procurement for our team and actually for our entire campus with a $1.5 million budget. And we were in charge of renewing services such as our campus wide LMS, our virtual meeting platforms, many of our crucial tools. It was intimidating to start. It was a lot of moving pieces, a lot of different vendors to speak to. There were emails coming in, documents, and I was learning the process for the first time. And so one of the first things that I leveraged was the tool Trello because I built the board in a Kanban style way, in ways that they each column reflected the procurement process, and myself, the director of our program, as well as the associate vice president, were able to reference that board at any moment and see each individual purchase where it was at on that um, progression of our procurement process to know if there were any stoppages along the way, anything that we needed help with, any barriers. But also now on the back side of things, we've been able to use that as a great repository of information. It's helped to train the next person that came into that role to manage that budget. And so not only was the document storage streamlined, our collaboration was streamlined, our communication was streamlined, and it really helped to take what could have been a completely overwhelming and high risk situation and really managed it down into something that was organized but flexible. And I think that was a perfect embodiment of some of those agile methodologies. And so the last thing I want to speak to is some of the ways that I define and measure success within learning design, especially within that agile mindset. And so we know that the effectiveness of a learning opportunity or a learning activity is not simply the feelings of the learner at the end or their satisfaction, although a very crucial and important part. We really want to look at it more holistically than that. So we're going to deliver a solution that is effective, it's engaging, and it's aligned with all of our outcomes and goals for the organization. And so there's a couple of different metrics that I look at to be able to judge this. The first being learner engagement, as mentioned. So this can look like studying the completion rates or the feedback surveys at the end of a learning experience to see what their satisfaction is and their engagement. But then I also want to take it the next step further and look at their knowledge retention or a learned behavioral change. And that might look at the next level of supervisors or management and seeing if we can find data that supports the change, specifically that we're able to draw it back to that learning experience being the impact. And then finally, we're going to look at stakeholder satisfaction. And we want to see that this kind of progress does align with the organization's goals. And through a couple of those different feedback strategies, we might be looking at efficiency metrics, if that's one of the main goals for the organization. We also want to see that the resources allocated and the time allocated to this did fall within those expectations as well. And so ultimately, all of these different methodologies, all of these different tools are utilized by me within an agile method to be able to create lasting, impactful, aligned, and efficient learning strategies. Thank you.